haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Beis, 6 lines from the top. When there are different chatzeros that enter into one mavui, in order to permit transferring an object from the chatzer to the mavui or vice versa, the Chacham required shitufe mivuos. Typically, it means that all of the participating chatzeros must then give either an oichel or a mashke, putting into one kli, and then placing that kli into one of the chatzeros. That enjoins all of the chatzeros to the mavui, permitting them then to carry from the mavui to the chatzer and vice versa. Our Mishnah states in the case when a mashke was already then a shutfus from a business deal between the people who are the bnei mavui. For example, Reuven, he has a shutfus with Shimon as a chavis of yayin, and he also has a shutfus with Levi with a chavis of yayin or a chavis of shemen. So the Mishnah has a chiddush twofold. One, that shutfus that was used really from a business deal could be now used as a shituf mevuoi. Second chiddush is that even though it's only Reuven that has a shutfus with Shimon, and it's only Reuven that has a shutfus with Levi, nonetheless, the three of them are able to combine together with the shituf mavui that Reuven has together with Shimon and Levi, even though Shimon and Levi do not have any shutfus together. Now the Gemara brings a dissenting opinion. Says the Gemara, Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoy Omer, Echad ze vechad ze tzrichin la'arif. In both cases, both the scenarios that we mentioned before, either with a chavis of yayin or a chavis of shemen, either one, you're required to make a new shituf mavui. Ask the Gemara, Vafilu lezeh b'yayin v'le b'yayin, even if the shutfis are both with a chavis of yayin, what's the problem of then mimischaber and making a shituf together with the yayin? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi, Zeba b'melginoi v'shofach v'zeba b'melginoi v'shofach. If Reuven were to come with a jug of wine and he would pour it into a chavis, and then Shimon would take a jug of wine and pour it into the same chavis, then certainly that would be no problem. Zeb b'melginoi v'shofach v'zeba b'melginoi v'shofach kul yamo lo pligi dahave eruv. Even Rabbi Eliezer ben Todai would agree that that would be a good eruv, even though they did it initially for business purposes. They can use that for shituf mevois, because over here each one then had his chelik of wine. However, ki pligi kigon shelachu chavi shel yayin b'shutfis, but when they take together their yayin of shutfis, that means that they took money that was between the two of them, and they bought with that money yayin, a chavis of yayin, then it's not going to be necessarily discernible whose yayin it belongs to, and therefore there's a machlokes. There we say, Rabbi Eliezer ben Todai savra ein bereiro, v'Rabbon savra yesh bereiro. Rabbi Eliezer ben Todai says, since they bought the wine only with money, so therefore we can't say that the yayin is going to be then each chelek, if one has a chelek of the yayin, to then make it into a shituf mavoi. Whereas the Chacham say, no, we can view the chavis of yayin that was bought with money as if then we could take out the wine and put it back, each one with his chelek. So therefore, we could also make into shituf mavui. Rav Yosef Omar. Now Rav Yosef says, you don't have to explain the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoy and the Chachamim in this way, to say that they're arguing, that Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoy is arguing on our Tana. No, you can say even a previous shutfis in a barrel of wine that was bought with money, everybody agrees, including Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoy, that can also be transferred into a shituf mavui. Because their machlokes, says Rav Yosef, is a different machlokes. As follows: Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoy v'Rabbanim b'soimchin al shituf b'makom eruv kemifli. They are arguing about a different topic altogether. whether you can go ahead and rely on the shituv mavui for your Erev Chatzeros. For in a case when the three Chatzeros did not enjoin together, they might have made their own private Erev Chatzeros, but they didn't make Erev Chatzeros with each other. So says Rav Elazar ben Tadoi, if they did not make their own Chatzeros together with each other, so even if a shituf mavui was made, it's not going to be satisfactory. You'll only be able to then carry from the mavui to the chatzer, but not between the chatzeros. Whereas the Rabbanan say you could be soymech on the mavui for the shituf mavui for the erev chatzeros. The mar saver ain't soymech, mar saver soymchin. Omar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, "Mino aminalo." From where do I know to say that this is the machlokes between Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoi and the Chachamim, and not the way it was explained before? Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav Halachi Rabbi Meir. Rav Yehuda saying the name of Rav that halacha is like Rabbi Meir in regards to being soimchin, that you can rely on a shituv mavui. If it was done, you cannot rather rely on a shituv mavui for your erev chatzeros and vice versa. Rav Bruna Amar Rav Halak Rabbi Eliezer, and Rav Bruna said in the name of Rav the halak Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi that says that you could go ahead and you cannot rely on your eruv, your shituv mavui that was made with yayin for your erev chatzeros. My taimo la mishum dechad taimahu. Rav Yosef then explains: is it not for the reason that Rav, who paskins like Rabbi Meir and also paskins like Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi, both yechidim and both lechumra, even though when it comes to eruv chatzeros we normally go lekula, is it not that he's pasking because it's the same reasoning? Omar le Abaye. Abaye then challenges Rav Yosef and says, "V'chad taimahu." If indeed it's the same reason. And that's why Rav passes by both Rabbi Meir as well as Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi, then Tarti Hilcha Salamali. Why did he then bring two different halachas and say the halachas like Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi and also like Rabbi Meir? Just say the halachas like Rabbi Meir. Granted, if he only said halachas like Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi, we not know Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi just says you cannot make a shituv mavui with yayin and then use that for your erev chatzeros. But that may be because you can't use yayin for erev chatzeros. But we would not know that if you made it with pas, the shituv mavui, that maybe you could go ahead and use your shituv mavui that was made with pas for your erev chatzeros. But Rabbi Meir, he does say that you cannot use your erev, your shituv mavui that was made with pas for your erev chatzeros. You cannot be soymich. So indeed, why is it that Rav also mentioned the halacha like Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi, at the same time also saying halacha like Rabbi Meir? Why not just mention the halacha like Rabbi Meir? The Tanya, Hakamash Malan. On that, Rav Yosef answers Hakamash Malan. Lo yavdinan kitrei chumrei be'eruvin. We don't want to make two chumrei with the same tana in eruvin, and therefore, explains Rav Yosef that indeed Rav says the halacha is Rabbi Eliezer ben Tadoi in regards to not using the yayin for shituv mavos for also erev chatzeros, and also paskening like Rabbi Meir by saying you cannot use your shituv mavoi that was made with pas for also your erev chatzeros. Now, once the Gemara has established the machlokes between Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanon, that Rav says the halacha is like Rabbi Meir in regards to not being soymech on the pas that was used for shituv mavois for your erev chatzeros. Ask the Gemara, my Rabbi Meir v'Rabbi Rabbanon. Where do we find that they are arguing? Where is their machlekes? Explains the Gemara in the following brisa: the Tanya, ma'arvin bechatzeros bepas v'imrotz la'ari b'yayin ein ma'arvin. Rabbi Meir says that you can go ahead and make your eruv chatzeros with pas, but you cannot make it with yayin. Mishtatfim b'mavui b'yayin v'imrotzu l'shtatfi b'pas mishtatfim. If you want to make your sheet of mavui with wine, you can do so, and certainly you can go ahead and make your sheet of mavui with pas. So here we see Rabbi Meir is making a chiluk. When it comes to making Erev Chatzeros, it must be done with pas. Yet when it comes to Shituv Mavui, it can even be done with Yayin. What's the distinction? The difference is because when it comes to then enjoining the Batim into one Chatzer, so there, since the bias is the residency, which is drawn after pas, that is the staple of man's food, therefore, you have to then enjoin them with an Erev Chatzeros made out of pas. Masha'enkin, when it comes to then enjoining the Chatzeros into the Mavui, since the Chatzeros are merely used for either Kvisa, laundry, or putting one's Chafetzim, or other things that are using not necessarily for residency, therefore even Yayin can be used to then enjoin them with Shituv Mavui. Rabbi Meir goes on to say, Ma'arvin bechatzeros umishtatfin b'mavui. He says, if they made Erev Chatzeros between the Chatzeros, that is not sufficient to then permit the usage of the Mavui. And therefore, you have to also make Shituv Mavui. If also you made Shituv Mavui, even if the made Erev Chatzeros between the Chatzeros, but they did not make an Erev Chatzer within each Chatzer, so you cannot rely on the Shituv Mavui either. Why? Says Rabbi Meir, Shelo l'shakach taras eruv min hatinoikos, is not to have the children forget about the institution of eruv. If you only had Shituv Mavui and you did not have eruv, or vice versa, you might then forget the institution of eruv. Sheyom Ravasin lo irvu. They will say that their fathers did not make eruv. So therefore, Rabbi Meir says it's required to do both. And you can't be soymech with your Shituv Mavui for your eruv, and vice versa. Div Rabbi Meir. The Brisa goes on to say, V'chacham moimrim, oy ma'arvin, oy mishtatfin. Here the Chacham say, either you can make the eruv Chatzeros, as long as each individual made Erev Chatzeros with their Chatzer, they can also rely, therefore, on the, and they made Erev Chatzeros between the Chatzeros, they can rely on that and not make the Shituv Mavui. And vice versa, the Shituv Mavui that was made can be relied upon, and so long as they have Erev Chatzeros for each individual Chatzer, even if they did not make an Erev Chatzer between the Chatzeros, that can be relied upon as the Shituv Mavui. So here we see the machlokes in Rabbi Meir and Rabban in regards to samchina or loy samchina. Now there's a dispute as to how we understand this machlokes. Pligi ba Rabbi Nechumi v'Rabbi Chad omar bepas kuli amoloi pligi de bechad sagi ki pligi beyayin. According to one, they say that when it comes to then making the Shituv Mavui with pas, you can rely upon that for your Erev Chatzeros. Even Rabbi Meir would say that. When are they arguing? They're arguing in regards to Yayin. If you made your Yayin for Shituv Mavui, since that itself is something that cannot be made with for your Erev Chatzeros, so Rabbi Meir says you can't be Soymech. The Chacham says that Migu over here, since you're anyways using it for your Shituv Mavui, it can also be used for your Erev Chatzeros. We're on top of Ayin Beis Amud Aleph. V'chad Omar beyayin the kuli amoloi pligi the boyin tarti. Everybody agrees if you're going to use yayin for Shituv Mavuis, that cannot be used for Erev Chatzeros. Even the Rabban agree to that. What's their machlekes? Ki pligi bepas. They're arguing about pas. According to Rabbi Meir, you cannot be soymech on the Shituv Mavui that was made with pas for your Erev Chatzeros. According to Rabban, you could. Meisvei asked the Gemara on this last shita, is it so that everybody agrees that you cannot go ahead, even the Chachamim, and use your Shituv Mavui for Yayin also for your Erev Chatzeros? Meisvei, the Chachamim stated, Oy ma'arvin, oy mishtatvin. In the brayz that we just quoted before, they say you can either make one or the other, either make Erev Chatzeros or Shituv Mavui. My lav oy ma'arvin bechatzer bepas. Are they not saying that when you make an Erev, it's referring to making an Erev with pas? Or mishtatim mavui b'yayin, or you can make a Shituv Mavui with yayin. So here we see that indeed, l'chara, they're saying you can make Shituv Mavui with yayin and be somich on that for your Erev. Omar Rav Gidol Marav. No, Hochik Omar. Oy ma'arvin b'chatzer b'pas umutorin kan v'kan. No, what they meant to say is that, or you can go ahead and make Eruv with pas, and that would make it mutter to use also for your Shitu Mavoi. Or or you make your Shitu Mavoi with pas, and you can also rely on that for your Erev Chatzeros. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. So we saw Rav Yehuda Omar Rav says halacha ke Rabbi Meir, and that's what's quoted over here as well. In other words, the version of Rav Yosef at least, that Rav Meir says that we don't soymech not only when it comes to making a shituv mavoi with yain are we not soymech on that for the Erev Chatzeros, but even if you make shituv mavoi with pas, you cannot be soymech on Erev Chatzeros. So here, the name of Rav says the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, which means he will go ahead and darshan berabim. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir. Rav Huna Omar minhag Rabbi Meir. Rav Huna says no, we will not darshan berabim. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir. But if an individual comes to ask how are we noiheg, what is the halacha, we'll say like Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yochanan Omar nohagu ha'am Rabbi Meir. We will not darshan berabim. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir. And we'll also not paskin to an individual that the halacha is like Rabbi Meir. But if an individual indeed is noyeg like Rabbi Meir, we will not protest. And that is the shita of Rabbi Yochanan. So it comes out that there are three different statements over here. Either the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, we'll darshan barabim, that's so. Or we will not darshan barabim, but we will state it to an individual that is the halacha. Or really the halacha is not like Rabbi Meir, but if somebody was indeed noyeg like Rabbi Meir, we will not go ahead and make a macha, a protest.